U.S. President Donald Trump has repeatedly said he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize and he'd like to have it. He even said that it would be an insult to the United States if he doesn't get it. What does as a chairman of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, think of this, and how has this campaign-like activity by the president and his supporters, domestically and internationally, affected the deliberations and the thinking in the committee?
In the long history of the Nobel Peace Prize, I think this committee has seen any type of campaign, media attention. We receive thousands and thousands of letters every year of people wanting to say what for them leads to peace. This committee sits in a room filled with the portraits of all laureates, and that room is filled with both courage and integrity. So we base only our decision on the work and the will of Alfred Nobel.
Even though I know you wanted it, I'm sorry, Trumpy. You didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize. It went to María Corina Machado, the Venezuelan opposition leader who's promoted tirelessly democratic values and rights for the people of Venezuela. She got the Nobel Peace Prize because of all her efforts to free the Venezuelan people from dictatorship to democracy. You, on the other hand, not so much.
So how loud? How loud do you think the crying's gonna get? I think that guy is gonna cry so fucking loud. I really do. He has been telling everybody, and his little puppets have been telling everybody, oh, he deserves the Nobel. Look what he's doing all around the world. Don't look at what he's doing in his own country while he's trying to make himself a king and while we're trying to give him plenary power. Don't look at that part. Just look at what he's doing all around the world. The woman who won is in hiding. She's been in hiding for about a year. She's the opposition leader in Venezuela, and she won for promoting democratic rights. And I listened to a video clip of the Nobel guy calling her up and saying, you know, you won. And she was so humble. She was like, you know, it's not just one person. It's a movement. It's all of the people. And I was just thinking that the man who's going to cry about how he didn't get it, I'm wondering, would he compliment his people for it? It's the person who's cosplaying as the FBI director, or it's the person who dressed up with a firearm and a little baseball hat and is pretending to be the Homeland Security person. Would he thank the insurance lawyer with no experience as a prosecutor for indicting his political enemies like Letitia James and James Comey? I don't think he'd thank anybody. I think this man would just be like, I deserve this so much. I deserve this so much more than anybody else deserves this. And I think that he cries super fucking loud today. And I think his puppets cry a little bit for him too. But, tell me if you disagree.
We have some big news right now. The White House and MAGA Republicans are freaking out after Donald Trump did not win the Nobel Peace Prize today. Instead, with the Nobel Committee awarding it to Venezuelan opposition leader María Corina Machado, who is very well deserving of this extraordinary prize. And they're not happy because they thought that Donald Trump not only should win, but they're also not happy because he lost to a Latina woman. Laura Loomer, one of Donald Trump's closest people on the internet, says, imagine thinking a woman who cries nonstop about Nicolas Maduro has done more for the world than President Trump. What an absolute joke. Everyone knows Trump deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. More affirmative action nonsense. White House Communications Director Stephen Chung said on his official account, President Trump will continue making peace deals, ending wars and saving lives. He has the heart of a humanitarian, and there will be never be anyone like him who can move mountains with the sheer force of his will. The Nobel Committee proved they place politics over peace. Not happy at the White House this morning, so spread the word. We're waiting for Trump's reaction. Follow along for more.
Hey everyone, I hope you're taking care of yourselves, drinking some water, getting some rest, and protecting your peace out there. Because today's story, well, it's pure political theater at its most performative. So apparently, the internet has been set ablaze not because of a war, not because of an election, but because Donald Trump didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize. And the reaction, let's just say some corners of the MAGA world are treating this like it's the final betrayal of Western civilization. Well, before we get started into the video, I would like to give credits to the originators and stitches in the video. Let's dive in, and we'll be back for more commentary.
Donald Trump did not get the Nobel Prize this morning, and he and the White House are hopping mad, claiming it was a DEI hire because a Latino woman got the prize. She's the opposition leader in Venezuela, María Corina Machado, and they said she didn't deserve it, Trump did. Now let's remind you who gets the Nobel Peace Prize. The person who shall have done the most or the best work for fraternity between nations and the abolition or reduction of standing armies and the formation and spreading of peace congresses. Donald Trump, building up the military more, Department of War come to mind. Fraternity between nations? He turned on the entire world. They hate us now. He's also threatened war 8 or 10 times now. Greenland comes to mind, among other things. He's also declared war on us domestically. And peace? Maybe with Israel. We'll see with Gaza. Let me show you what Trump's White House is claiming about the award. Here's Trump's communication director, Stephen Chung, parroting North Korea. President Trump will continue making peace deals, ending wars and saving lives. He has the heart of a humanitarian, and there will never be anyone like him who can move mountains with the sheer force of his will. The Nobel Committee proved they place politics over peace. First of all, really good idea to attack the Nobel Committee. I love that because good way to get the prize. By the way, it was too late for... We knew this was going to happen. It was too late for Trump to get the prize this year, especially for Gaza. They've got to have the nominations in by like February 1st. This Gaza thing happened in the last 2 days. It was too late. But we knew Trump was so dumb that he was going to go, I'm angry, I didn't get it. And now they're attacking the Nobel Committee. He had a chance next year. They've now attacked the committee. And then Trump's top advisor, Laura Loomer, said this. Imagine thinking a woman who cries nonstop about Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela has done more for the world than President Trump. What an absolute joke. Everyone knows President Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. More affirmative action nonsense. So they're calling her a DEI hire. And of course, you know Trump's losing it because a Latino woman beat him. Now, why does Trump say he deserves the Nobel Prize? Because he claims, I've solved 8 or 9 wars. Millions of people would have died in India and Pakistan. No, they wouldn't. India and Pakistan had a skirmish for one day. One bombed one bombed the other. That was it. And India even Trump claimed credit for resolving it, and India goes, no. Millions would have died. Then there's the larger issue of, even if Trump did solve some wars, do you give the Nobel Prize to a racist, fascist, warmongering criminal? Do you? I mean, Trump is the worst president in American history. He's a criminal. He's an authoritarian. He's a fascist. He's trying to eliminate democracy in America. He has created animosity all over the world. He's declared war multiple times now already, right? He's blowing up people in the Caribbean illegally, committing war crimes. He attacked Iran. I'm all for going after Iran, but that was, you don't get a Nobel Peace Prize for declaring war on Iran. Do you really get the Nobel Peace Prize when you're a warmonger? Really? Not to mention he declared war at home. In a year, by the time they do the next award, we could no longer have democracy in this country. We could have full out, we've already got fascism, we could have a full out dictatorship in this country. He could already have called off the election at that point, because the election will be next year at this time. Gavin Newsom of California says he thinks it's getting called off. Final point here. You know who deserves the Nobel Prize? Gavin Newsom and Governor Pritzker. The resistance deserves the Nobel Prize. Just like in Venezuela, they picked the resistance to autocratic dictators to get the Nobel Peace Prize. Who should be nominated next year is every single one of you and every single one of us. And that will surely tick Trump off, but that is somebody who is meritorious of getting the Nobel Peace Prize, and we just may.
So the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize was officially announced, and no, it was not my president. Now, I was raised to be a good sport about these things, so I'm going to start off by congratulating the woman who did win the prize, which is this lady right here. She is Maria, or essentially, hopefully, the next president of Venezuela, who is combating communism and looking to bring the American way into Venezuela. Now, for all y'all America-hating, Trump-hating individuals out there, let me show y'all something real quick. This recognition of the struggle of all Venezuelans is a boost to conclude our task to conquer freedom. We are on the threshold of victory, and today, more than ever, we count on President Trump, the people of the United States, the people of Latin America, and the democratic nations of the world as our principal allies to achieve freedom and democracy. I dedicate this prize to the suffering of the people of Venezuela and, wait for it, President Joe Biden? Obama? No. President Trump, for his decisive support of our cause. Even when the globalists don't want you to win, you still end up winning. That's our president right there.
Hello and good morning. In today's episode of As the White Hood Turns, I'm going to give y'all 3 guesses as to who didn't win the Nobel Prize. The Nobel Peace Prize. That's right, y'all guessed it. Syphilitic Sid did not win the Nobel Peace Prize. I don't know why he thought he was... I can't even make this video with a straight face. I really can't. I want to, but I can't because this mother over here really thought somebody was going to give him the Nobel Peace Prize. I feel like they should give him the non-existent Nobel Peace Prize for the non-existent wars he ended. The fuck are we even talking about right now? But the lady who won, interestingly enough, called Syphilitic Sid a visionary. So, I had to do a deeper dive. I understand that, she's fighting for democracy and she's in hiding and all of those kind of things. I'm really still trying to figure out why she called him a visionary, other than you need somebody like him to come in and fuck everything up so that then you can rebuild a more democratic republic. Maybe that's what she meant, because the fuck.
Welcome back, folks. So, the prize this year went to María Corina Machado. I'm really sorry if I butchered her name. But an opposition leader from Venezuela recognized her for her efforts towards restoring democracy in her country. A woman has been under real political persecution, house raids, restrictions, threats, yet continues to fight for peaceful change. But instead of acknowledging that story, some Trump allies decided to spin the whole thing into a cultural war headline. Suddenly, the Nobel Committee is political. The winner is being called a DEI pick, and people are online yelling that Trump was robbed, as if the Nobel Prize were a political endorsement and not, an award for advocating for peace and diplomacy. Let's pause here. Let's pause there, because this isn't really about a prize. It's about recognition. The answer of who gets to be called a peacemaker. MAGA voices argue that Donald Trump deserved it because of the foreign policy record, that he brought nations together, stopped wars, and negotiated deals. On the other hand, critics point out that his administration also heightened global tension, pulled out of the international agreements, and turned diplomacy into a transaction. Both can be true in parts. That's the story. That's the irony there. You can broker a deal and still alienate allies. You can make symbolic peace gestures and deepen division at home. The Nobel Committee tends to reward consistent, sustained, multilateral diplomacy and not just bold headlines. But this outrage online, that's not about the process. It's emotional. It's cultural. For a moment that's built on the image of Trump as a global strongman, being denied a global prize feels like a rejection of that myth. What's also interesting is the reaction to who won: a Latina woman, a pro-democracy advocate from Latin America. The MAGA outrage didn't stop at defending Trump. It went into labeling her as an affirmative action. That's where it turns revealing, because this isn't about Venezuela anymore. It's about discomfort with diversity being visible in global leadership. It's the same energy that appears when every time a person of color wins an award, gets a cabinet role, or receives global praise. The instant assumption that merit was replaced with wokeness. But here's the twist that makes the story almost poetic. Machado herself thanked Trump in her victory speech. She literally credited his support for her country's struggle for democracy. So the very person they're calling unworthy is acknowledging Trump as part of the larger picture in her success. You'd think that would calm things down, but no. because this outrage isn't about fact, it's about feelings. There's something deeply ironic about calling the Nobel Prize rigged, while also claiming moral superiority. It's the same contradiction that keeps American politics looking in a cycle of grievance. Everyone wants to be the underdog and the hero at the same time. Here's a thoughtful experiment. What if Trump had won the Nobel Prize? Would the same people now calling it political have said the committee suddenly got smart? Or would critics have flipped the script and called it a proof of corruption? It's all about perspective, and perspective right now is being shaped more by loyalty than logic. From a neutral lens, though, this whole opera shows how global recognition still carries symbolic power. We like to pretend awards don't matter, but the second someone else wins, suddenly it's an international conspiracy. It's like watching a high school student council election on a geopolitical scale. And look, we don't have to love or hate Trump to acknowledge a basic truth. The Nobel Peace Prize isn't about personality, it's about consistent peacemaking across borders, whether that's being through negotiation, diplomacy, or resistance against oppression. It's about the process, not the press release. So maybe instead of finding this as a Trump versus the world, it's better to understand as America's ongoing arguments with itself about who defines leadership, who deserves peace, and who counts as a legitimate. In the end, María Corina Machado's story is about a woman risking her safety to challenge dictatorship, and that deserves space to be recognized without being turned into another partisan football. But the way MAGA reacted, turning a Nobel announcement into a deep state plot, well, that's the satirical headline writing itself. Because when outrage becomes a habit, even peace becomes political. So, salute to everyone trying to keep their sanity in the chaos. Appreciate the originators and stitches of the story, and as always, thank you for being part of Echo Room Vibes, where we unpack the noise with humor, clarity, and heart.